YourBoatClub.com. YourBoatClub.com.
So one of the great things about the club is that you're going to have access to fishing boats, pontoons, and runabouts. We're going to actually do the orientation on a runabout because there's just more to it. If you can drive a runabout, you can drive anything.
Hi, my name is also Brian. I'm here to do the on-the-water portion of your orientation. It is your boat club's mission to ensure that your family and friends enjoy their time on the water in a fun and safe environment. Now let's get started. Once the dock hand brings you to your boat, it's very important that you enter the boat and check for all of your inventory. A few things that you're going to need in the day are going to be your tie lines, life jackets, which are going to be located in different compartments in different boats, so make sure you ask your dock hand where those are. You're going to need a throw cushion. Throw cushions need to be out and within one arm's reach of your driver. Make sure to not stow this away. It's got to be one step away from throwing to somebody that falls in the water. You're going to need to locate your fire extinguisher. You're going to want to know where the anchor is, which is generally in a front compartment. You are also going to want to grab the bumpers that are going to be on the side of the boat when you leave. Those will get stowed in a compartment with you, and those will go with you. The lines that are on the dock are going to stay on the dock. When you arrive at a restaurant or a park or want to leave the boat on your session, you're going to use these set of tie lines here. Please also remember to check your prop. It's very important that you and the dock hand go back to the rear of the boat and check the prop. Prop damage happens. I've damaged many a prop, and even if you've been out 1,000 times, there's a good chance, depending on water levels, that damage to the prop is going to happen. Please remember, you are responsible for any damage that occurs on your session. So make sure you and the dock hand agree upon the condition of the prop. You don't want to get charged for any damage that happened on the prior session. First thing you want to do when you get in the boat is turn on your blower. The blower is a ventilation system that's going to eliminate any flammable fumes that are in your engine compartment. It is recommended that this is running for 3 to 5 minutes before you start your boat. So it's a great idea to get in, turn on your blower, and then start putting stuff away and getting people sat in their seats. By the time everybody's sitting down and ready to go, you're going to be able to go ahead and start your boat. Once the blower's been running for 3 to 5 minutes, you're going to go over to your key and you're going to turn it just like your car all the way to the right until your motor is on and running. Once the motor is on, it's okay to go ahead and turn off your blower. On the dash here, we've got a lot of knobs and dials and gauges. This is going to be your horn. This is your blower or ventilation system for your engine compartment. Your bilge pump is a water pump that's getting water out of the engine compartment, which you don't need to worry about unless you're caught in a storm. We've got your RPM gauge, your speedometer, your tilt and trim, which is the elevation of your motor in the back of the boat, fuel gauge. We've got battery, water, and oil, which you don't have to worry about. We also here have an in-dash depth gauge, which is going to tell you how deep you are. None of these buttons you need to worry about or toggles. This is the lights or the navigation lights. If you've got to worry about that or if you're looking for that, it means you're a little bit late due to the fact that our boats are due back a half hour before sunset. You're always going to leave with a full tank of gas. You'll never run out of gas in one of our boats. But if for some reason you see a gauge down a little bit, please notify the dock hand. The phone numbers for all the boats are going to be located on the dash of the boat. Please make sure and text when you're 10 minutes away from returning to the dock. We receive a lot of phone calls at the dock, so you do not need to call if you're going to be 15 minutes late to the arrival for your boat. 9 out of 10 calls are that your boat will not start, and that's going to be one of two things. The first is going to be your lanyard switch. Because this is red and generally looks like a slinky or a red cord, any 5-year-old on the planet is going to be all over this. If in the down position, your boat will not start. It will act like there's a dead battery most of the time. Some manufacturers, it will sound like it just won't start. The other reason is that your boat is not in neutral. Even if the lanyard is in the up position, when I try to start my boat and it's not in neutral, it is not going to start. So please make sure, before you call this number to tell us that your boat is dead, that you check that the lanyard switch is in the up or run position and that your boat is in neutral.
Under a new federal law effective April 1st, 2021, all boaters are required to wear the engine cutoff switch link, aka ECOs, known as the lanyard, while driving the boat. So while you're operating, make sure that you've got the lanyard clipped around your wrist or clipped somewhere to your body. Previously known as the kill switch, ECOs is now the preferred nomenclature.
Unlike your car, there is no gas pedal in a boat. The throttle here is going to be your gas and your brake. To engage into forward, we're going to squeeze this engage button and we're going to pop it into forward. To get it out of gear, you pull back without engaging the button until it locks into position, and now you're in neutral. When I'm in neutral and my motor is running, my prop is not spinning. When I want to engage into reverse, I squeeze the button, I'm into reverse. When I want to get out of reverse, I push back into neutral without engaging this button. On the thumb here, this controls your trim. Once again, your trim is a mechanism that raises and lowers the prop in the back of the boat. As my thumb is pushed up on the top, my prop is raising. As I push on the bottom, my prop is lowering. The reason for a prop, the reason for a trim, is so that when you are in a shallower area or an area you find yourself that you're not supposed to be in, you will raise this prop to get it out of the way of hitting a ground. There's also some performance measures that will go along with raising and lowering your trim, which we'll go over once we're out on the water. Depending on location, the dock hand will talk to you about where you need your trim to be. Some locations are located in shallower bays, and you're going to need your trim in a halfway position, which is directly correlated with the gauge on the front of the boat called your trim gauge. In a lot of locations, you can have your trim all the way in the down position as long as it's deep enough. Just make sure you're asking your dock hand where you need your trim before you leave the dock. As I raise the trim, the needle goes up, which means my prop is up. As I lower the trim, the needle goes down, which means my prop is down. Once again, please ask the dock hand where your trim should be when you leave that specific marina.
It's yourboatclub.com. Yourboatclub.com.
Once you're out on the water and it's time to go and everybody's saying let's go fast, once again, we're going to engage in the forward. We're going to make sure everybody's sitting down and has their places. Make sure your cell phone, your keys, and everything is in a safe compartment. The more I push this throttle down, the faster I go. Once again, I'm always going to be defensive driver. I'm looking over my left shoulder, I'm looking over my right shoulder, I'm looking ahead, and I'm looking behind me to make sure nobody's passing me. Once I see I've got an open area, and I've got plenty of room in front of me, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get that throttle. I'm going to push it down. I'm going to watch the nose of the boat rise. Once the nose starts to come back down, I can match that with deceleration. Once I'm on top of the water, that's called planing out. You want to run around either on top of the water or below the water. A big common mistake for beginner boaters is to run around in a position we call no man's land. When I'm in this position here, I'm neither on top of the water or I'm neither below the water. I'm just pushing around a lot of heavy water right now. Boats are not efficient to begin with, and if I'm doing this, I am just chugging gas. Get yourself up on the water, give it the gas, your nose rises. As your nose drops on the boat, I'm going to match nose drop with deceleration. I back off as my nose drops, and now I'm gliding around in a nice, efficient manner. Anytime I'm making turns, I'm going to take a left-hand turn. I'm going to look all the way over my left shoulder to make sure nobody's passing me. I'm going to make sure there's nobody off to my left that I'm going to turn into. As I turn to the right, I'm going to look over my right shoulder and make sure nobody's trying to pass me and make sure I'm not trying to turn into somebody. Once again, boats do not have brakes. Your only braking in a boat is deceleration. When it's time to decelerate, I'm going to pull back on my throttle until my boat drops back under plane. If I want to stop the boat, I pull back until it locks into the neutral position. One key thing to remember is that once you are in gear, I squeeze that button to get in the forward, you've got to get your fingers off of that engage button. One of the reasons is, if for some reason I was going full throttle and full speed and somebody popped out in front of me, a jet skier, a kayak, a fishing boat, if I've got my fingers on that engage button, it will allow me to go right from forward into reverse. If I'm doing that, if I do that at over 10 miles an hour, we're going to drop an $8,000 lower unit right at the bottom of the lake. So please make sure, once you're in gear, your fingers come off of that button. So once again, I squeeze the button, I'm into forward, I've looked over both shoulders, there's nobody in front of me, I give it the gas I want to go get up on plane, my nose rises, as the nose of the boat drops, I match that with deceleration, and I'm planing. One thing you do not do is drive a boat with two hands on the wheel. You use one hand on the wheel and one hand on your gas and your brake. Once again, if somebody hopped out in front of me, I am going to pull this back without my fingers on the engage button into neutral, and it will lock on its own, and that's as fast as the boat will stop. Deceleration is your only brake. Please make sure you're always being a defensive driver. Once your boat is up on plane, there is some performance trimming that you can do to make your boat a little more efficient and a little more smooth riding. If you just tap your trim 2 or 3 times, you'll actually feel your boat hit what they call its sweet spot. This is going to get you a few more miles an hour with using less gas and less throttle. This will take some practice, but try to do this a couple times every time you're out. Some boats' sweet spots are different than others depending on the manufacturer's hull design. When you're out on the water for the first couple of times, make sure you're seeing what your vessel can do. Once again, I'm going to look over both shoulders and I'm going to do some big S turns here. One thing you can't do is flip a boat. But make sure you're looking over your shoulder every time you're making a turn. As in the event of emergency, if you had to get this boat out of the way of something, you want to know what it can do. You also want to know how quick your boat can stop. Remember, boats don't have brakes. I'm going 30 miles an hour. When I pull this back to neutral without engaging the button, that's as fast as you can slow down. So make sure you're giving yourself proper distance between any other boat or shoreline or dock. You're going to find sometimes where you've been in a shallow area or you've gone through a shallow bay where you had your prop in the up position. You get through the channel and all the kids want you to go real fast. Come on, Dad, let's go. And you hit it and the nose of the boat goes straight up in the air. Make sure to remember to put your trim in the down position before you hit the throttle. Once again, all the way down for the quickest to get on plane. Once you're on top, click it a few times and you'll feel the boat settle into what we call its sweet spot.
It's yourboatclub.com. Yourboatclub.com.
There are many common courtesies and right-of-ways when you're out on the water. You always want to remember that defensive driving is always your fallback. However, it's very important that you understand all of these. Somebody coming from the right has got the right of way. I'm going to back off on my throttle. I'm going to let the boat go by, and I will fill in behind him. Once again, if I'm making a right or turning behind him, I'm going to look over my right shoulder and be a defensive driver. If he's coming from my left, I have the right of way right now. However, he may not know that I got the right of way. So let's make sure and always be defensive driver because they may not know. I'd rather be safe than sorry. If you're heading straight at a boat, the common courtesy is to defer to the right. If we both defer to our rights, we'll give each other plenty of space between our boats. Remember, these are not laws, these are common courtesy rules. When it's time for me to pass somebody, make sure you're looking over your shoulder and you've got plenty of distance between him and shoreline or a dock. Give him plenty of space. And once again, my head is always on a swivel. I'm looking to my right, I'm looking to my left, and I gotta make sure I've got enough landing room in front of him, between him and the shoreline and dock as well. Once I give him plenty of space in front, I can go ahead and slide in front of him and proceed in the same direction. Once again, your head is always on a swivel. Defensive driving. People with blinders on get hit. Make sure you know who is around you, in front, to the side, and behind you at all times when you're driving a boat. People that drive like this, handing cocktails and beers and potato chips or grabbing the phone off the floor, get hit. Or their hat blowing off. Make sure, no matter what happens, if your phone goes down, or your pop goes down, or your hat blows off, you decelerate, you pull back into neutral before you start looking for anything. Remember, there is a move over law. If the sheriff comes up behind you with his flashers on or honking his horn, hopefully he's not pulling you over. And if he's not, he's expecting you to get to the side and get out of his way so that he can get to the emergency that he needs to get to. Also remember that the #1 call to the Sheriff's Department every single year is from non-motorized watercraft. That includes kayaks, paddle boards, paddle boats, anchored fishermen with their trolling motor down. Make sure that you are always giving non-motorized watercraft right away. The #1 non-motorized watercraft out on Lake Minnetonka are sailboats. Sailboats own this lake. You make sure that you are not running in between any races and you're giving them right away 100% of the time, or you will get pulled over by the sheriff. One thing to remember due to water fluctuation levels is to ask the dockhand if there are any low clearance bridges out there. There are many times during the year, depending on water levels, that the bridges are too low to go with your Bimini top up. So please make sure and ask them, and they will lower the Bimini top for you, or point it out and they will show you how to lower the Bimini top. We do not want you to be charged for taking out a Bimini top on a bridge, but you are responsible. If you think or question at all the height of the bridge, it's time to put your Bimini top down. When it comes to water skiing, tubing, wakeboarding, or wake surfing, you must have a spotter inside the boat. So it takes at least 3 to participate in any of those sports. No tow rope, maybe longer than 150 feet, and a PDF must be worn by anybody on the tube, the rope, or the wakeboard. Inflatable toys are no substitute for swimming skills. Make sure you know the swimming ability of everybody in your boat. You may not know personally somebody that gets in your boat because a friend brought another friend. It's very important that you know if everybody in your boat can swim. If somebody falls in the water, before you jump in to try to save them, make sure you throw them a life ring or your throw cushion. Collisions with the second boat or another object don't just happen. 99% of the time, they're a result of inattention, fatigue, or lack of knowledge of that body of water. Please make sure and keep an eye on the weather as well. We are not weathermen, and when people call and ask us what it's going to do today, I have just as much knowledge as you do. And having your smartphone on and getting a good weather app is going to help everybody out in that incident. Please make sure and keep track of the weather about every 15 to 20 minutes. As we are in Minnesota, our weather changes quite frequently. If there is a storm on the other side of the lake and it's headed your way, it's time to get that boat in. Meeting back at the dock while there's lightning strikes didn't mean that you made it on time. Please beat the storm to the dock, as our dock staff needs to remain safe as well. It's very important that you keep your cell phone on while you're in the boat. One of the reasons is because of the weather in Minnesota. If we see a storm coming that is a few miles away, we're going to send out a text telling you to get back to the dock. Please keep your cell phone on, as we're going to be calling and texting and making sure that you guys get back to the dock safely. With lightning, if we see lightning, we are going to halt anybody going out on the water by 45 minutes. So please don't show up right after a lightning strike and think that you're going to get out on the water. We're going to make everybody wait. Once there's been no lightning that we can see for 45 minutes, we'll allow you to get out on the water.
It's yourboatclub.com. Yourboatclub.com.
There are many different dangers and hazards out on the water. We've got rock reefs, we've got sandbars, we've got other boats. The first thing we're going to talk about is the orange and white buoys with diamonds on them. In the boating world, diamond means danger or hazard. Diamond buoys will never be alone. There's always going to be two or more, and they are surrounding some sort of offshore structure. What you want to do with orange and white buoys with diamonds on them is treat them like garden fence posts. I want to find all the fence posts and I want to put a fence around them, and we stay on the outside of the orange and white with diamond buoys. There will never be just one, there will be two or more, and once again they are surrounding either a sandbar or a rock reef. A good analogy, once again, is find one, go to the next one, connect the dots, build a fence around them, and we keep the rabbits out of the garden. The other kind of buoys we're going to talk about are red and green navigational buoys. The easiest way to remember red and green navigational buoys is in between red and green. If you're going in the vicinity of a red and green buoy, make sure you are in the middle of them. Most red and green buoys also require you to go to an automatic slow no wake position or closed throttle position. Generally this is around 5 miles an hour, but it really depends on what style of boat you're in, and really has to occur with the size of wake that you're producing. A slower minimal wake channel is mandatory and is one of the things the sheriff is going to be looking for. If you're going too fast through a channel, you can expect a visit from the sheriff. All bridges are always slow no wake, regardless if there's red and green buoys attached to them or not. So please make sure you're abiding by that rule. Generally, if there's a set of red and green buoys before the bridge and a set after the bridge, the closed throttle or slow no wake zone will go from one set of buoys to the other. Please make sure you're on the other side or the far side of the red and green buoys before you get up on plane or get above your slow no wake zone. A lot of times in the red and green buoys, you're going to treat this like a 2-lane highway. Just like in a car, I'm going to stay to the right side. A boat approaching me will be on the left side or his right side. The third style of buoy we're going to be talking about are the black and white hazard buoys. Unlike the orange and white hazard buoys, black and white buoys can be alone, or there can be 6 or 7 of them strung along together. How you read black and white buoys is you take your boat on the widest lake side of the buoy. For instance, if we look towards the shoreline, there's 100 yards from that buoy to the shoreline and 500 yards of open water on the outside of the black and white buoy. You always take your boat on the wide side of the lake of the black and white buoy. Please do not cross inside of the black and white buoy. Once again, never take your boat in between the black and white buoy and the nearest point of shoreline. Always stay to the wide side of the lake. Please make sure and abide by any slow no wake rules. A lot of bays are all completely slow no wake. All bridges are slow no wake, which has to do with the water that you're pushing around. As I get going faster, the wake on my boat gets larger. If I'm pushing any more than 6 inches of water around, I'm going too fast. Back off on my throttle. In a closed throttle position, and that's what a slow no wake looks like right there. Some general laws on the water. It is illegal to operate a watercraft in a careless or reckless manner. It's illegal to operate a watercraft so that its wash or wake endangers, harasses, or interferes with any public or private property. It is illegal to operate a watercraft within an area legally marked off or set aside as a swimming area. Please do not pull your boat into a swimming beach. It is illegal to operate a watercraft beyond its safe carrying capacity. In all boats, there will be a capacity plate and a weight plate. Please take into consideration coolers and all of the gear that you have on before you invite X number of people. It is illegal to ride or sit on the gunnels, bow, or transom of the boat while the boat is in motion. Please make sure all butts are in the seats while the motor is on. Once the motor is off, anybody can sit wherever they want. It is illegal to operate a watercraft so it obstructs or interferes with the takeoff, the landing, or the taxiing of a seaplane. Quite a few of our lakes and rivers have a lot of seaplanes that take off and land. So make sure if you see one circling above a bay, he's trying to let you know to get out of the way so he can land. Or if you see one trying to take off, that you're getting out of his way so that he can go ahead and take off. It is illegal to moor or attach your boat to any buoy or marker. Please do not pull up to a red and green, a black or white, or an orange and white with diamond and tie your boat off to it. That's what your anchor is for.
It's yourboatclub.com. Yourboatclub.com.
Once it's the end of your shift and it's time to pull back into the dock, please make sure and get visual confirmation that a dockhand is going to be ready for you to dock. Please do not ever dock alone or without dockhand assistance. A lot of times you may have to wait out in an area like this until a dockhand is getting done with another customer or another boat. Once I get confirmation, then it's time for me to head down the lane that I've been instructed to go down. A lot of times your boat is not going to return to the same slip due to our gassing procedures and valeting and moving boats around. Slow is always the best method. Start that one again. Slow is always the best method in practice when docking a boat. I'm in my closed throttle position right now. I'm at a minimum wake. If I can hear my engine rev, I'm going too fast. I want to be in control of my acceleration, which means I like to actually decelerate almost down to nothing before I enter my lane. Once I've got control of my speed, I'll pop it in forward again into my closed throttle. My dockhand is at the end of the finger where I'm going to be docking now. Once you've got confirmation that that's the slip that we're going to dock in, we will head towards that dock. Remember, boats don't make 90-degree turns like cars can. You've got to start your turn well before your slip. One good saying is you don't drive into a slip, you glide into a slip. Once I get about 2 slips away, I'm going to pop it back in the forward. I'm going to start my turn. I'm actually going to aim for the back corner of this slip. I'm going to turn. Once I'm lined up, I'm going to go back in the neutral, and I'm actually just going to glide into the slip. My dockhand will assist.
Beautiful.
And we're docked.
Right, guys.
Perfect. Once the dockhand ties you up, we will assist you and get you out of the boat as quick as possible. Once again, remember to check your prop after your shift. If you did hit something, please let us know, as there's bigger things at stake with the engine. If you hit something and the next guy goes out and hits something, we may take out a lower case of the gear case which is going to be a very expensive and time-consuming event for that boat, which may take a boat out of the system for a length of period of time. So please make sure if you did hit something, like we said before, everybody does, just make sure that you let us know so we can check on it. Cool. Once it's time to leave the dock, we'll go ahead and get untied like before. I'm going to engage button into reverse. When my boat gets about halfway out, I'm going to turn all the way to shore. When my nose is at a 45, I'm going to go into neutral. I'm going to let my nose finish before I put it in the forward. Once again, if I can hear the engine roar, I'm going too fast. Okay? You do not need to hear the engine rev in a marina environment. Please make sure that you've got one hand on your steering wheel and one hand on your throttle and brake. Also make sure when you're leaving any marina environment that you don't just gun it out of the marina. Make sure you are 100 yards past the marina before you get up on plane, creating any wakes or waves. Once again, when we're parking, I want to be in control of my motion. I want to decelerate almost down to zero. Then we're going to be called feathering the throttle. We're going to pop it in, we're going to get a little momentum, and when I get to a comfortable speed, I'm going to get into my entryway of my channel. As I get closer to my slip, I'm once again going to pop it out and decelerate. I want to be in control of all forward motion. One thing to remember is that wind trumps everything. And if you are ever in a situation where you feel uncomfortable to dock the boat, please text the dock hand in advance and we'll meet you at the end of the dock and we will park the boat for you. Once again, I'm in closed throttle here. I'm going minimum wake. I'm not too close to these boats, but I'm not too close to the slip that I want to get in either. As I get close, I'm going to decelerate again. I'm going to pop it out. I want to be in control of all forward momentum. I'm going to turn before I shift. I've turned my wheel. I pop it in. I watch my nose swing where I want it to go. I aim for the back of the slip. Once I'm lined up, I pop it in neutral and I'm going to glide right into the slip. Remember, you don't drive into a slip, you glide into a slip. Pop it in, pop it out. If you find yourself in a situation where you're going to parallel dock, i.e. at a restaurant or at a park dock, mostly the same. I want to decelerate, I want to be in control of my forward momentum. I'm going to pop it in. Remember, boats glide in, they don't drive in, and they're always sliding. They're always sliding towards the side you're turning away from. So as I take my left here, my boat is going to slide to my right. I'm going to turn, I'm going to let it drift in, and I'm going to slide right in there. I'm now going to go into reverse just a tad, and I'm going to turn my wheel towards the dock and back to neutral. This is a second level parking. Make sure you're giving yourself plenty of practice times before you do this. If you ever arrive and want to practice parking a little early, feel free. Or if you want to reserve a boat on a spontaneous note and come and practice parking, please feel free. We want you to feel comfortable out driving the boat and parking the boat. 99% of the people that would be interviewed would say that the most stressful time of anybody's boating is going to be the parking or docking of the boat and leaving of the marina. So please feel free to ask us for assistance. If you don't feel like doing it, we will pull the boat to the end of the dock, or if you want to just practice a couple times with one of us in the boat, we'll gladly do so. I'm going to go ahead and do that again. As I approach the dock, I'm in closed throttle. I want to decelerate. I'm actually going to go to neutral so that I'm in control of all forward momentum. As I start to lose momentum, I'm going to pop it in. I'm going to pop it out. When I get about a boat and a half away, I'm going to start my turn. I'm going to pop it in forward. I'm going to go back to neutral, and I'm going to feel my back end kind of sliding towards the dock. As I get parallel, I'm going to actually steer towards the dock, and I'm just going to pop it in reverse and back to neutral. And now my boat will glide right into dock. There are a lot of restaurants and parks that do not have the standard dock where you're going to have cleats. You're going to see these big pillars. In these cases, your bumpers generally don't do you any good. You're fine with your rub rail rubbing onto the dock. So what you do here is you go through your cleat around, and this is for any, whether it's a cleat or a wood pillar. I'm going to go around the pillar. I'm going to go around the pillar again, and I'm going to come up and under and through that one. Okay, I'm going to do that one more time. Make sure it's cinched nice and tight, and you'll be good to go. Make sure at any case, at any restaurant, park, that you are tying up your boat correctly. The last thing you want to do is go in and eat dinner or lunch and come out and have your boat floating free and into a boat next to you.
It's yourboatclub.com. Yourboatclub.com.
Make sure when you're anchoring that you get it plenty of distance away from the boat. Give it extra line. You always want your anchor line at an angle. You don't ever want your anchor line straight up and down. Give it a quick tug. Make sure your anchor seats, and that'll help you stay in place while you're having lunch or doing cannonballs. If your anchor's not holding, give it more line. When it's time to pull the anchor up, go ahead and pull it up. When it gets to the side of the boat, you're going to dunk and swoosh a few times. Please get rid of all the muck and debris that's going to be on the boat. Dunk and swoosh before you pull it in the boat. Making sure that you're not hitting the boat with the anchor. Please make sure the anchor gets back inside the pontoon, as if that thing fell off while you were going full speed, you will run it over and cause major damage to the motor. When you're leaving your spot, if your prop was out of the water because you're in a shallow area, please make sure and lower the prop back in the water before starting the boat. Please do not ever start the boat with the prop out of the water. Also, if you were swimming in that area, please make sure and put the swim ladder back in the up position, as backing up or going forward with your swim ladder down can cause major damage to the ladder, which our members are responsible for. Once it's secure, you're able to get back in your captain position, start the boat, and proceed with your day. When it comes time to tow a person on a wakeboard or skis, make sure you're securing the tow rope to the ski tow eye. These are located in different positions, but are generally on the rear of the boat, somewhere down towards the lower end of the fiberglass. Ask your dock hand if you have any questions about hooking up the tow rope.
It's yourboatclub.com. Yourboatclub.com.
Hi, we're back and we're going to show you the differences between the runabout and the pontoon. There are some small differences between the two. One of them, and one of the biggest things, is the actual throttle. On a pontoon, if you remember in a runabout or the speedboat, there was an actual engage button where I had to push in to get in the forward and push in to get in the reverse. In a pontoon, there is not. I can just go in the forward, I can go into reverse. I've got to find that neutral or that lock position on my own. It's not going to lock out automatically. Just like in the runabout, I'm going to turn my key. I'm going to start the boat. Turn the key to the left. The motor is off. On the pontoon, I've also got a lanyard switch. If my lanyard or my run switch is in the off position or the down position, it's going to act like it's out of gas. Your boat's never going to be out of gas. So make sure before you call, up in the run position, and your boat's going to start. Just like in the runabout, if my boat is in forward or reverse, it's going to act like it's got a dead battery. Okay? However, you've got to just wiggle it until you find that neutral position and your boat will start. Now, if your boat doesn't start after those two things, make sure and call the number that's on the dash and we'll assist you in finding out what the issue is. A couple of different things that we'd like to show you is how to get some shade. This is what's known as a Bimini top. You'll unzip this. This is called a boot. So take the boot off. Please wrap it up and put it into a compartment. These are very light and very easily can fly out of the boat when you're underway. Once your boot is off, you're going to pull these arms forward. This black plastic piece will go on the front side of that clip, lock it in, and now you're good to go. Now remember, if you're traveling under any bridges, to make sure that if you think you're even close, to put this thing back down, and then actually we'll show you how to put it all the way down into what we call radar arch mode. When you want some more sun, you're going to kind of hold this up a little bit, pop that arm free. You're going to walk it to the back. Now you've got to accordion it. You've got to do the back one first. Lift up that one. And just like that. If we do find ourselves at a bridge that we can't get under without the Bimini up, we've got to put that thing all the way down. We're going to hold up the arch here. We're going to pop these arms out, connect them on here, and now we're going to go down. We're going to extend these short arms. And now we'll be able to get under that bridge. Now once again, please ask your dockhand prior to leaving if there are any bridges or areas that are going to be height restricted. On the dash here, on the dash you're going to have some accessory switches. We're going to turn those on. Then we're going to power on your depth finder. And we're going to power on your stereo. Remember, all of our stereos are Bluetooth compatible, and most also have a USB and an auxiliary input. If you're a music person, I would make sure I always had an auxiliary cord or a Bluetooth compatible phone. We will always have these going for you, but if you turn it off and turn it back on, just power it on, and then you're just going to have to hit exit and it'll go right into depth finder mode. Once again, before you leave, make sure you grab a dock hand and you guys check the prop together. This prop is in A1 condition. And also make sure that before you leave and before you start the boat, that you trim this boat all the way down into position. Depending on your location will depend on where you're going to start this motor. Let's go all the way down. And that's good. We're in safe position. He's able to now start the motor.
It's yourboatclub.com. Yourboatclub.com.
All right, so it looks like you reserved one of our fishing boats, and I just want to go over the basic deploying and getting the trolling motor back up into position. The first thing you're going to want to do is grab this. This is called a depth collar. It is also a safety collar. Okay, so you're going to, it's time to put this down. We're going to loosen this. We're going to get this about 6 inches from the head of the trolling motor. We're then going to go to this lever here. We're going to push this in and we're going to push this down. This is going to deploy all the way down. Make sure it locks in and gets down and rests on that depth collar. Once we're in there, we'll use the foot pedal to control left or right or forward. But when it's time to get this back up into position and you're ready to leave this spot and get into a new position, this is very important. You push this down. We're going to pull this up. We're going to slide this. This is going to be parallel to the water. Make sure it is not up and down, but that it is sideways. You're going to pull this until it locks in place. Very important that now you grab the depth collar, slide it all the way down. Now it's a safety collar, and we're going to tighten that up before you get underway with the main motor. If you do not have this down and you're going across the water and you hit some big waves, this thing can self-deploy. The trolling motor drops while you're using the big motor going 20 miles an hour. That trolling motor hits the water and it blows up the casing on my trolling motor. And now the fishing boat does not have one. So please make sure, loosen, up to position, tighten it back up, press this, push off a little bit, down until it locks into position. When it's time to leave, we're going to do that once again in reverse. Press, pull up, slide back, pull sideways till it locks into position. Move the safety collar down and tighten up and you're good to go.
It's yourboatclub.com. Yourboatclub.com.
My name is Spencer, manager of the Lake Minnetonka location, and I'm going to walk you guys through how to connect to Bluetooth on our Bennington pontoons. So first, it's really simple. You'll find the accessory switches, the ACC. Some will be labeled radio. If it's not, just flick them all on and figure out which turns on the radio. So you flick on the radio accessory switch, go to the power here, and then sometimes you'll have to cycle through the mode in order to get to BT music. Once it's on BT music, you will go onto your phone, turn your Bluetooth on, and look for Media Center. Sometimes if there's a bunch of Benningtons in that fleet, you'll have a bunch of media centers. You might have to try connecting to a few before you get the correct one on your boat. So next we're going to go over connecting the Bluetooth on the Monterey M6s. Now these can be a little finicky because you sometimes have to remove certain devices as the Bluetooth can get filled up. It's recommended to go back to the back right compartment to the main radio, flip it down, fire it on up. Sometimes it takes a few seconds. Once it's fired up, and if it is not already on Bluetooth, you'd hit the arrow right here, scroll down to BT, click BT, Bluetooth, then it will say select device. So in the top left corner, you'd push this button and you'd see a list of devices. Sometimes this can get pretty filled up, so you would have to scroll down to remove device to make space for your device. You click the device you'd like to remove. Now it has space to add your device. So you'd hit this button once again, and instead of going to remove device, you'd click discoverable. Once you put it on discoverable, you will see the Bluetooth pop up on your phone, then of which you can click and connect via your phone. You should see your name pop up or your phone's device's name pop up there. You click it and connect, and you should be good to go.
It's yourboatclub.com. Yourboatclub.com.